So you pause, and in that quiet moment, a thought hits you like a cold wind. If someone only shows up when they want something from you, is that really love? Or just need wearing a mask? Because someone who truly loves you, who values you, would never let you pay the price for their comfort. They would never ask you to choose between their ease and your dignity. It's a hard pill to swallow, realizing that not everyone clapping for you actually wants to see you win. Some people cheer just loud enough to keep you dancing. And when you stop, when you finally say no, they vanish. Or worse, they blame you for changing. But change is necessary when your peace is at stake. After everything you've worked for, after the decades spent building a life brick by brick, you don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting it. It's not selfish. It's survival. The peace you've earned is sacred. Letting it slip through your fingers to please those who wouldn't hesitate to take more, that's not noble. That's tragic. And yet the requests keep coming, some wrapped in guilt, others in expectation. A sibling calls, a friend begs, a child demands you step into the middle of a storm that isn't yours. Can't you fix this? Can't you talk to them? And because you love them, you try. You walk into the chaos hoping to mend the cracks, but all you find is fire, and before long, you're burning too. You give advice, you offer support, you try to be the glue, but the more you try to hold others together, the more you start falling apart. Your health slips, your joy fades. The home that once felt like a sanctuary now feels like a battleground. And it dawns on you. This isn't your fight. You're just collateral damage. Even worse, you watch the house you built, full of memories, become just another item on someone else's wish list. To you, it's a legacy. To them, it's leverage. The very walls you poured your heart into are now a prize to be fought over. You thought your love would bind them. Instead, your efforts become another reason to divide. And in all of this, where are you? Torn between being the fixer and the forgotten. But you weren't born to be a buffer. You weren't meant to carry the weight of every disagreement, every selfish demand. You've earned the right to peace, and peace doesn't require permission. So when someone asks you to step in, to mediate, to sacrifice your happiness once again, ask yourself, at what cost? Because the more you give to problems that aren't yours, the more you lose pieces of yourself that you can't get back. And no matter how much you care, you cannot rescue someone by drowning beside them. Then there's a different kind of ask, a quieter, sharper one, the kind that doesn't take your money, but your identity. When those closest to you, a child, a friend, start suggesting, not so subtly, that maybe you should change, that maybe the way you dress is too old, that your music, your habits, your preferences are outdated. They say it with a laugh, with a smile, maybe even with love. But underneath is a sting that cuts deep. They're not just asking for change. They're asking you to disappear, to stop being you, to shrink into something more palatable, more modern, more like them. And in doing so, they're forgetting everything you've lived through, every lesson earned the hard way, every chapter of your life that's written in the choices you now make with pride. They don't see the strength in your traditions. They miss the beauty in your values. They think freedom means fitting in, but you know it means standing tall, even if you're standing alone. You didn't survive everything you've been through just to become a watered-down version of yourself. You've worn your years with grace, and every line, every habit, every quirk is part of a masterpiece called you. So when they push, when they prod, when they make you feel like you should be someone else, ask why, and then ask why not be yourself. Why not wear what makes you feel alive? Why not dance to the songs that bring you back to your best memories? Why not speak your truth, even if your voice carries the weight of time? Because losing yourself to please others is the greatest betrayal of all. You weren't made to fit into their mold. You were made to honor your journey. And if someone can't see the value in that, if they don't recognize the treasure of your authenticity, then maybe they're the ones who need to change, not you. This life you've lived, it's yours. Not a script to be rewritten, not a mirror to be polished. It's a fire that still burns bright. And anyone who truly loves you will never try to dim it. You don't owe anyone your transformation. You owe yourself the truth, and the truth is, you're enough. As you are, as you've always been. Don't give it up. Not for approval, not for comfort, not for anyone who claims to know what's best for you. Because the moment you start bending who you are to fit into someone else's mold, you begin losing pieces of yourself that you may never find again. This isn't just a little shift, it's a quiet collapse. And by the time you notice it, the damage is already done. There's something deeply tragic about waking up one day and realizing you're a stranger in your own life, living by someone else's design. Imagine looking into your child's eyes as they say, "That part of your life doesn't matter anymore. Just let it go." Not because they mean harm, but because they don't understand. They don't see the weight it takes to hold on to yourself when the world is nudging you to let go, to adjust, to keep up. They don't feel the fight it takes to stand in your truth when everyone around you is trying to soften your edges. The danger isn't always loud. Sometimes it's in the quiet permission you give to slowly become what others find more acceptable. And in that slow fade, you trade joy for convenience, passion for peacekeeping. You become someone you were never meant to be. All because pleasing others became easier than defending who you are. But your peace, your identity, that isn't something to negotiate. You earned that peace. Every scar, every step, every sleepless night, those moments built you. And no suggestion, no opinion, no emotional guilt trip should hold the power to tear that down. If the way you live brings you clarity, if it gives you purpose, then no one should ever be allowed to take that from you. Sometimes the pressure doesn't come from strangers. Sometimes it comes from the people you love most. A child, a sibling, someone close who says, "Can't you just do this for me?" It would make things easier. They might not say it with harsh words, but the message is clear. Your happiness should come second. And if you're not careful, you'll start to believe that. You'll begin to shrink yourself for their comfort, to dim your light so they don't have to squint. You'll find yourself torn between the need to be kind and the fear of being selfish. But here's what no one tells you. Choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. If you lose yourself in the process of keeping others happy, who's left to keep you alive inside? There's no honor in abandoning your own spirit so others can rest easy. One day it might hit you when someone says, "If you loved me, you'd do this." And your gut reaction is guilt. But love that demands you erase yourself isn't love. It's control dressed as affection. The people who truly care for you won't ask you to vanish to make room for them. They'll want you to be whole. They'll want you to stand tall, not kneel in silence. You can't keep giving and giving until nothing remains. That's not compassion. It's self-destruction. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you're carving away another piece of your freedom. And for what? To avoid conflict? To prevent someone else's disappointment? That's not living. That's surviving in someone else's world. There comes a moment, usually quiet, often painful, when you realize you've been walking through life wearing someone else's shoes. They never quite fit. They never took you where you wanted to go. And now it's time to take them off. To walk barefoot if you have to feel the ground again and remember what it's like to be alive on your own terms. Stop waiting for permission to prioritize your joy. Stop asking if it's okay to protect your peace. It is. It always was. And if you don't do it now, you might spend the rest of your life wondering what could have been if you had just chosen yourself. No one else gets to write your story. No one else gets to decide what chapters matter. If someone is uncomfortable with your truth, that's their burden to carry, not yours. You weren't born to make others comfortable. You were born to be real, to be whole, to be free. Your time, your energy, your soul. Those aren't things to be bartered for approval. Those are sacred. You've come too far to start questioning your worth now. It's not too late. It never is. But the longer you wait to stand up for yourself, the deeper you sink into a life that was never meant for you. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them not understand. That's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to live fully, to love yourself enough to say, "I will not shrink." And that decision, the one to honor your truth, is where real freedom begins. You've carried so much for so long, more than most could ever understand. And yet people still come to you like you're made of steel, like you've got no weight of your own, no wear, no limits. But you do. You bleed like anyone else. You feel the cracks deep inside, even if you never show them. And now when you finally earn some peace, when you're standing at the edge of finally breathing freely, they still ask for more. Another favor, another sacrifice, another piece of you. There comes a time when you look around and realize you're the only one still holding everything together. Not because they can't, but because they never had to. You made it easy. You took on more than you should have because love told you it was the right thing. But love without boundaries turns into something else, something darker, something that drains you instead of lifting you. And you've been there, smiling on the outside, breaking on the inside, carrying burdens that were never yours to begin with. And the worst part? They didn't even notice. They didn't notice when your shoulders slumped from the weight. They didn't ask when your nights got longer, your smiles fewer, and your energy vanished. They assumed you'd always be there, like some unshakable rock, while they rested on you, leaned on you, and sometimes even walked all over you. But a rock can crack too. And you're human. You're not a savior. You're not a one-man rescue squad. You're someone who's done enough, and you deserve more than to be treated like a backup plan, especially now, especially after all you've lived through. There's no more space in your life for people who use love as a leash. No more giving in just because the guilt stings, because guilt's a chain, soft at first, but it tightens fast. And soon you're stuck, not because you can't move, but because you're too afraid of what happens if you do. They'll say you're selfish. They'll say you've changed. But the truth is, you're finally waking up. You're seeing what's been happening all along. And it hurts. It hurts to realize that some people only come around when they want something. That some calls aren't about checking in, but cashing in. That love in their eyes comes with a price tag. But not anymore. Because now you know your peace is priceless. You've earned your rest. You've earned mornings without tension, days without demands, nights without the weight of someone else's problems. You've earned joy that doesn't come with strings attached. And anyone who can't respect that doesn't deserve access to your energy, your time, or your heart. You're not cruel. You're not cold. You're just done bleeding for people who wouldn't even hand you a bandage. Done being the first call when there's chaos, but the last thought when there's peace. Done carrying bags that were never yours to pack. And when the requests come, and they will, when the phone rings with that familiar voice asking for one more thing, take a breath. And remember who you are now. Someone who knows their worth. Someone who's allowed to say no. Someone who chooses peace over obligation. Because it's not your job to carry grown people across bridges they burned. Not your job to fix lives built on poor choices. Your responsibility is you, your health, your joy, your sanity. And protecting those doesn't make you selfish. It makes you wise. Let them think what they want. Let them whisper. Let them guilt trip. Because when you're finally free of their expectations, when you wake up without the crushing pressure of someone else's chaos, you'll feel something you haven't felt in a long time. Peace. Real peace. And peace, once you find it, you never let it go. It starts so quietly, almost invisibly. A favor here. A small sacrifice there. At first, you don't even notice the shift. You're just being kind, supportive, doing what feels right. But slowly, the line between generosity and self-destruction begins to blur. And before you know it, you're left wondering how your well-intentioned heart became someone else's safety net, while your own feet hang over the edge. People don't always ask directly. Sometimes it's implied. Sometimes it's hidden behind sweet words or urgent tones. But the pattern reveals itself. They come when they need something and vanish when you do. And when you finally look at the trail behind you, it's littered with receipts. Not just financial, but emotional. You've spent your energy, your time, even your savings, just to keep the peace. And all the while, they keep moving forward as if none of it mattered. By the time the well runs dry, they've already found someone else to lean on. And you? You're left staring at an empty bank account and an even emptier heart, knowing that restarting isn't as easy as it used to be. There are no do-overs, no second 20s. You realize you were writing checks from your future just to cover someone else's present.